entering the Mayo experience.
That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dog or Pass podcast. I'm your host, Paul Shaughnessy, joined in studio by my friend and yours, Mr. Cody Saftic, breaking down UFC Atlantic City, Barboza versus Lee. Atlantic City, ever been?
No, but if I do ever go, I'd like to pound it and make some money. So because I'm not going, I'm going to sit at home and hopefully pound it and make some money.
From what I gather, it's basically Vegas, but instead of having strippers, the strippers are all prostitutes.
You know what? My dad and his buddies used to fly out to Atlantic City for like 2 days back in the day because of like their horse racing schedule. You would get like a Tuesday, Wednesday off. So a bunch of guys would just hop on a plane, fly there for a couple of days, gamble, and then come back. And he's like, it was nice in those days. But apparently the last time he went, he's like, it's deteriorated. It's pretty much just run down. And Vegas is actually nice. Like, you've been to Vegas, obviously.
Yeah.
It's got a good feel. It's, for the most part,
Vegas
clean.
can be really greasy, though,
be
as
dicey.
well.
It
It
can be
depends
dicey.
on what you want. If you're into the greasy kind of thing, you can have it.
But
it sounds like if you like the greasy part of Vegas, then, you know, Atlantic City is like the greasy part of Vegas on steroids.
Well, people used to be like, man, you're going to Atlantic City? You gotta check out the boardwalk. And now people are like, oh, you're going to Atlantic City? Dude, just avoid the boardwalk.
Don't get stabbed, man.
Avoid.
All right, let's get into the action here. There we go. We got Kevin Lee taking on Edson Barboza. Kevin Lee, 8,400 on DraftKings, minus 155 on the betting line. Edson Barboza, 7,800. Plus 135. Lee coming off the loss, obviously, to Tony Ferguson in his last fight. Barboza getting mauled by Khabib, as people are known to do. And the win before that was against Dariush with that beautiful knee. So I think a lot of people are thinking that Kevin Lee can go across and just take down Edson Barboza. I don't think it's impossible. The guy was able to take down Tony Ferguson. And he had the staph infection. He got kind of tired. And, you know, this is a kid with a lot of promise. If he keeps it standing, he's going to be in a world of trouble here. But I think he's pretty smart. He's shown some pretty good ring IQ in all of his fights. And as he progresses, that I think he's going to go across. He's going to go for the takedown. The question is, Edson Barboza probably has guys at the gym that it's a little easier to train for someone like Kevin Lee than it was for Khabib. Khabib, you know, you have Zabit in your gym, and that seems like it would be basically the perfect guy. But Khabib's just on kind of a different level that you can't really find anyone to emulate his game. It's an interesting fight. I'm leaning Kevin Lee. I like Kevin Lee from a DraftKings perspective because takedowns are gold, and if he takes him down, he's going to be searching for the back, looking for the submission. But if Kevin Lee gets a little bit lazy on one of those takedowns, and Barboza lands one of those knees, or if he's not able to get the takedown, because Barboza has shown really good takedown defense in the past, before the Khabib fight, then essentially, if it stays on the feet, like I'm not gonna bet against Edson Barboza, who's just gonna land leg kicks like a maniac and has the better, faster boxing in general. So I like Kevin Lee. I don't know if I'm betting it, but I will have a heavy dose of Kevin Lee on DraftKings. Don't really like Edson Barboza on DraftKings because you're basically chasing a knockout for him to pay off his price, and I'm leaning Kevin Lee anyway. So.
Yeah, fair enough. I've been kind of flip-flopping back and forth in this main event. I mean, it's a close fight. If we expect Kevin Lee to go out there and get those takedowns, then yes, he can beat Edson Barboza. Because if there's one knock on Edson Barboza's, even though his takedown defense is pretty legit, is that this guy is a striker first every time. He wants to keep it standing. He wants to land those leg kicks. He is a pretty decent boxer. His chin's not the greatest. Like, he goes to war with guys, and he's been through the ringer. Now at 32, I get a feeling that he might be slowing down a little bit. But still, he's a human highlight reel. Like, the knockout over Beneil Dariush is like gonna be a highlight forever. And that's not even nicest knockout this guy possesses.
Terry Adam, rest in peace.
Still to this day, for my money's worth, the nicest KO I've ever landed. He freezes him midair. It's crazy. But again, at 32, he's had so many wars. He's been knocked out before. I mean, guys like Jamie Varner have tested his chin and knocked him out. Donald Cerrone, when he beat him, he dropped him with a stiff jab and then took his back and choked him out. The fights with Paul Felder, I mean, it was actually a pretty close fight and a fight that he went through the war. I watched him versus Bobby Green today. Bobby Green's got him cut up, you know? Michael Johnson just backed him up and beat on him. There's path to victory against Edson Barboza for sure. And Kevin Lee, 25 years old, young, didn't look bad against Ferguson. Took Ferguson down, mounts him, pounding away, round ends. And then, yeah, I'm sure the staph infection certainly did play a role. But Barboza traditionally fights a much higher level of guy than Kevin Lee has.
For sure.
Kevin Lee's coming into this fight, and his wins are over outside of the Michael Chiesa fight in a fight that, yeah, the rear naked choke looked pretty sunk in, but it's not like Chiesa ever actually tapped.
And he dominated, so you can't really give him a hard time on that.
Yeah, but it ended pretty quickly. It was like 2.5 minutes, right? A fight like him versus Trinaldo, I'm more down to give him like, ooh, that was a nice little fight for you. But again, you know, it's like these are bottom 15 guys. Mustafayev, I love Mustafayev, a bottom 15 guy. So his win over Efren Escudero, not even the prettiest of victories. And Escudero's a top 50 guy in the world that's not even signed to the UFC. So he's still young, he's still evolving. If you expect him to go out there and get these takedowns, then I don't mind him. In a 3-round fight, I think I would take him. But here's the question mark I'm going to pose here, because I don't mind the dog money at plus 135 on Barboza and the $7,800 on Barboza, I don't mind, is if he's got 5 rounds to work with. Kevin Lee is a massive lightweight. We know he has trouble cutting weight, terrible trouble. The staph infection, and this is just a theory on it, not a greasy theory, but just a theory on it, is that he's cut so much weight. He has a really bad weight cut for that fight. His immune system's shot. He happens to contract staph. He's going to come into this fight with no staph, don't get me wrong, but still a very bad weight cut. We talk about him being 25 and getting better and better. Well, he's also getting bigger and bigger. These weight cuts are not going to get easier. They're going to get tougher. UFC is now talking about introducing a 165 weight class. He's going to be one of the first guys in that weight class. And hell, he might be the champion at 165 pounds. But 155 is dreadful. And with Barboza, you can take him down. Khabib took him down, I believe, 4 times. Khabib pounded away at them. But the guy kept trying to work to get back up. And at the end of the 3rd round, he gets back up. And he knows he's losing to Khabib. So he just starts throwing caution to the wind, throwing whatever he can. To me, that showed a guy that's well-conditioned, that knew he was going to have to get taken down, get back up. And now he's taking on Kevin Lee that has less top pressure, has less of a takedown game, has less cardio. If he even does get taken down those opening rounds, but he can get this fight to 3, 4, and 5. He can land some of those strikes. I mean, hell, we seen Leonardo Santos drop Kevin Lee. It's not crazy to think that Edson Barboza can land that kill shot. And for me, if it's 3 rounds, I think Kevin Lee dominates the early couple rounds, and he might be able to take this to 29-28, maybe even a 30-27.
So you get into round 4, you're probably right.
But 4 and 5 is if he can push up pace and he can hurt Lee. I know what you're saying. If it stays standing,
I'm willing to risk that Lee gets him down, and he's very good at finding the back. From a DraftKings perspective, I'm looking for the high end. This is like a lot of these other fights, like the 5-round fights. You basically had to play them. You had to play the main events in a bunch of these recent cards that we've had, like Poirier Gaethje. Like we said last week, you need the winner on your team in a large field GPP. This one I don't think you necessarily do. Even if it gets to like if it was like a round 3 finish, round 4 finish, or the only thing that you'd be chasing is the round 1 like Kevin Lee submission victory type of thing.
Sure, yeah.
I don't think this fight necessarily ends up on like the winning GPP.
Yeah, well, it remains to be seen. I like the 7,800 on Barboza because as I go through the card and I start to formulate a lineup, I got to have some of those sub 8,000 guys. And he's a guy, because he's got 5 rounds, that if he takes this into deeper water, he's going to land strikes. He's also not terrible on the ground. It's just generally speaking, he's going to the ground with guys like Tony Ferguson and Khabib. And even that fight with Ferguson, it's crazy. It's action-packed. You got to break Barboza's will to get that rear naked choke on him. I don't know that Kevin Lee's going to go out here, and after 2 rounds, if he's huffing and puffing, is he still going to get the takedowns? If he struggles on the takedowns, if he does a sloppy takedown and he eats the knee, I just don't know. I'm chasing value. I'm chasing the plus 135 for the actual money line, and I'm chasing that 7,800. And, you know, if you ask, gun to my head, who I think is going to win, I feel like Kevin Lee is the more developing fighter. He's the younger guy that probably is getting better. But Barboza trains in a very talented room, man, where you've got guys that I know guys like Frankie are smaller than him, and Marlon Moraes are smaller than him. But think about the Kevin LaFlare, or the Ryan LaFlares in that room. Think about the Dennis Bermudez in that room. Think about the Patrick Cummins in that room. Think about all these guys that are going to be able to, they're great wrestlers. Keep this fight standing against Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee's not a collegiate All-American. He's certainly not Khabib. Maybe you can keep the fight standing. Maybe you can hit him. Maybe you can test that chin. Kevin Lee's kind of falling in love with his boxing a little bit. Spends time at the Mayweather gym in Vegas. Spends a lot of time with Dewey Cooper working on his kickboxing. If he believes to himself, man, I'll just beat this guy standing, then he creates an opportunity.
He believes that.
Well,
He doesn't
you
believe
never
that.
know, man. You never
He better
know.
not believe that, or else he's
a young,
he's
brash, cocky
He's in
kid.
for a rude awakening. He's not gonna stand with him.
He's got a 2 reach advantage, and his striking is getting better every day.
Getting better, but like
He could hurt Barboza. Barboza's not some
don't
cast iron
don't
chin,
hang
amazing
out
striker.
don't hang out in boxing range or even worse, kicking range with Barboza. You're not going to be able to feel your legs for a week afterwards. Everyone knows that basically.
I could be slightly lean towards Kevin Lee. You know, I think I am.
Wait, you just said that you're picking Barboza.
No. Let me finish. I could be slightly.
I was
leaning
about
Kevin
to
Lee.
move on to the next fight and say Cody
All
likes
I'm
Barboza.
saying-
Now you're flip-flopping.
You just gotta let me finish. I could be leaning towards Kevin Lee. I could see scenarios in which Kevin Lee wins, but I'm going for the value here. I'm going for the 7,800 on DraftKings. I'm going for the plus 135. It's a close enough fight that I think that he wins if they fight multiple times. So I'm gonna chase that value. But this is not a I love Barboza so much you gotta play him. I think he's gonna get the job done, and I like the value.
So Cody likes Barboza?
Barleyza?
I like Lee. We got Frankie Edgar taking on Cub Swanson in the co-main event. Frankie Edgar, 9,000 on DraftKings. Cub Swanson, 7,200. Minus 235. Edgar, plus 195. Swanson. Both of these guys coming off L's to Brian T. City Ortega. Frankie, very, very recently, got knocked out really bad, too. Like, it was this like a month and a half ago?
Not long ago.
He's coming back from that. But this is a fight he's already won before.
4
It
years
was
ago.
a 5-round fight, and he got the finish, in the last minute or last seconds, basically, of the fight, which is kind of dominating the entire course of the fight. Cub Swanson, the path to victory has always been take him down, out-grapple him. And he was able to do that. It's hard to not like Frankie Edgar. We've seen the fight before. We know he knows exactly what he has to do against this guy. I don't think Cub Swanson has really evolved all that much since that fight. It's a pretty similar type of guys. The win against Lobov, he landed a lot of strikes and stuff, but like, I don't think he's an elite guy. I think he's going to be a gatekeeper kind of in this 145-pound division. That's why they re-signed him. He's a good test for guys on the rise, right? But, it's got to be Frankie. But if one punch lands and Frankie wobbles again, none of us are going to be surprised. It's a very risky fight. If it was 5 rounds, I would love Frankie Edgar at 9,000 on DraftKings. I don't know if I'm going to have too much exposure to this fight, though. What's your take?
Yeah, it's crazy how the swing of MMA is. I mean, a month ago, I'm sitting on this very same desk talking to the very same Paul Shaughnessy, and I'm talking about how Frankie Edgar has never been knocked out, as he has a cast iron chin. How Brian Ortega is going to have a tough time finishing him on the feet, and he's not going to be able to take him down. So how's he going to get the submission on him? And Frankie's never been submitted. All these different things. This guy is MMA's Iron Man. This guy is as durable comes. And Brian Ortega completely silences a lot of people like myself who are saying all those things and knocks them out senseless. Now, we talk about Frankie Edgar's next fight is, I don't know if he can take a punch anymore. Like, do you know how crazy things go sometimes?
I just mean I won't be surprised. I think it's.
You said nobody would be surprised if he gets knocked out, or however you phrase it. So nobody would be surprised because everybody collectively
I don't think because what just happened.
Yeah,
it was so recently. If it was like 5 months passed by, and then he gets this fight again, like I think you feel a little bit queasy when it's like so recent. It was late February.
Yeah.
That fight happened. It was less than 2 months ago, and he got knocked out real bad, concussion, probably sitting in a dark room, drinking out of a straw, like that type of thing.
Well, he must not have been, because he must have been back in training camp shortly thereafter. Like, he basically went from getting knocked out. They gave him a 60-day no contact order, and within the 60 days, he's got to be sparring.
And within the 60 days, he's fighting again.
Well, no, he's not fighting again, but they said no contact. You can't go to the gym, you can't spar. And he actually let it slip. He's like, I'm getting some sparring rounds in, and someone brings it up. They're like, what about the 60 days? He's like, just like, not into the head. It's like, working to the body. It's like, Frankie, come on. Yeah. This is Atlantic City. This is pretty close to home for you. You know that he's going to be excited. You know he's going to want to go out there. He's got a lot of teammates on the card. I don't know if I can buy into Cub Swanson. Cub Swanson's as fun as it gets, and that's why I don't fully understand the matchmaking here. It was so one-sided the last time. I don't think anybody cared to run it back. I don't necessarily even think Cub Swanson wanted to run it back. He almost seemed surprised that the fight even got offered. And like you said, he's exciting and he's good for some of these up-and-comers. Give him fun fights. Let him fight the Duho Choi's of the world. Let him fight, even though I wasn't didn't really understand the Lobov fight, it's a fun fight against a middling pack guy. He'll give you an entertaining fight. When he fights these upper echelon guys, he gets hurt, man. Either he breaks his hand or he breaks his foot or he breaks his jaw. He's 34 years old, but he's like a frail 34 years old. Like he's 2 years younger than Frankie at 36. They're both kind of falling apart. I just feel like Frankie's got to be a little more put together than this. But it's the first fight. It's the 7 takedowns that Frankie lands on him. Frankie almost takes him down at will.
5-round fight, though.
Yeah, 5-round fight, fair enough. But when Frankie wants him down, he takes him down. And when the fight hits the ground, like, Cub's not traditionally great at getting back up, whereas Frankie's top pressure is smothering. He'll keep chipping away at you. He'll land 100 strikes in a 5-round fight, but in a 3-round fight, he can still land, 80 strikes on you just from grounding you and punching you away. I'm a little surprised that Frankie's jumping on a card so fast after a vicious knockout, and that makes me a little bit worried that could be that he gets clipped by something. But the first fight was so dominant for Frankie, he's got to be really motivated for the fight. And Frankie's got a high ring IQ, whereas Cub has got a questionable ring IQ. He slings punches wild. He goes for crazy strikes. Frankie's smart enough to realize, okay, I don't want to get hit in the head. Use your striking to set up the takedown, take this guy down, pound him away. And that would be the key to victory. The 9,000 on DK, that's a pass away. The 7,200, almost tempting if you think Frankie's chin's gone, but I don't really actually think Frankie's chin's gone. Yeah. And for the minus 235, again, risky because he's a near 2.5 to 1 favorite, and he literally just got dusted not that long ago, so we don't know where he's at. It could be rushing back into it. The strike
lands in round 1, he wobbles a bit, loses that round, and then it's dicey.
Yeah. And when we talk about, well, Frankie never been finished outside the Ortega fight, but we've seen Frankie get, wow, oh my God, yeah. But I gotta hope that doesn't happen. That Cub Swanson's more of a volume puncher, pick you apart, land a lot of shots and hurt you, more than that one-shot concussive power. Although we have seen him, knock out guys in the past with one punch. He's more of a, I gotta get you hurt, I gotta smell the blood, I gotta swarm him. When you try to swarm on Frankie Edgar, he might get that takedown. The only reason I like Frankie Edgar's money line a little more than I probably should is that this is a damn close card, and a lot of these fights are pick'ems, and I feel like he's a little more on the safe side of the bets. But I don't love the price, I definitely don't love the 9,000, but yeah, my pick is most definitely gonna be Frankie Edgar.
Justin Willis, 9,300, Chase Sherman, 6,900, minus 355 Willis, plus 295. For the Vanilla Gorilla, the Gift Master, Chase Sherman. Who do you got?
Listen, Sherman's a great follow on social media, but, well, he's getting a little more stale over the time.
He steals most of his jokes.
Yeah, whatever. He's a good follow. If you want to have a bit, if you don't want to read your feed and find some funny stuff out, then yeah,
you could have the same follow. You could do it too if you just stole everybody's gifts and jokes.
Yeah, okay, which I wouldn't do. So, I mean, by that means I'm no Chase Sherman. I got to go with Justin Willis, and even though he is $9,300, I'm taking that chance on him. Because one thing with Sherman is we don't know if he's going to get hit, knocked out right away, or get hit multiple times and stand up, but we do know he's going to get hit. The guy is very hittable. And his biggest issue to me, outside of his lackluster striking defense, because he's got good cardio and he puts a pace on you, is that he seemingly has no power. It's almost like a boxer-sized class with this guy. He goes out there, he throws 1-2s, he throws leg kicks, but he never really seems to sting guys. He never really seems to get their attention.
Kind of reminds me
of the
like
Rashad Coulter fight. He knocks Rashad Coulter out, but this guy is not UFC level. And Damian Grabowski, I know you have a good Damian Grabowski Bellator hanging out in a fucking casino story.
Well,
but Grabowski is no good either.
I told Grabowski that he had a good fight. He didn't. But what are you going to say to this 240-pound Polish animal? Are you going to tell him that he didn't have a good fight?
Yeah, fair enough.
It was a stinker.
Grabowski, who had no success in the UFC, at the very least, stood the test of time against Sherman, who just literally punched away at him. Yeah. But whenever he takes these guys on that, pack a little bit of a punch, I mean, we all know that Walt Harris hits like a tank. So being able to just hit Sherman, if you hit like Harris, you're going to knock him out. Abdurakhimov, not even that big on this guy's power. And he folds him. And Justin Ledette, who's a 205er, has very little power as well. But he paces him up, lands over 100 strikes on him, completely butchers him. He's very hittable. And with a guy like Willis, I'm not totally sold on this guy, but he's an athlete, only 30 years old, trains at AKA, former defensive lineman at San Jose State. He's a natural athlete. He's a big boy. He used to fight in Japan at 300 pounds. Apparently, he's got his weight in check, which has always been a question mark with him.
It looked like his striking had developed quite a bit.
Yeah, his last fight, I was actually... now, Crowder is no special fighter himself. But
Crowder's
Sherman's
kind
not
of
very
like a
good
poor
either,
man's
so.
Sherman, really.
Yeah, I mean, he's tall, he's lanky, he's very hittable.
And he's undersized for being a heavyweight.
Yeah. Now, Willis can knock you out standing, but Willis, I would think, wants to get this fight to the ground because we've seen it in the Mullerton fight, is that he's very top heavy. He can take you down. When he takes you down, he's a big athletic guy. He can hold you down. Training at AKA, you can only assume that he's in the room with guys like DC and guys like Cain Velasquez and has been a regular training partner with those guys for a number of years. So, as I said, I know he's 30, but that's young for heavyweight, and this guy is an athlete. He's a guy that played collegiate sports at a Division I level. Didn't wrestle. I would have loved if he wrestled, but they transition over good, like a Tony Johnson Jr., if you follow Bellator at all. Another AKA guy, big guy, athletic guy, has a bit of a wrestling background, but they take you down, they smother you. And Willis can do that. Willis can knock out Sherman standing. Willis can take the fight to the ground and take him out. The minus 355 in the betting line, I'm not touching that. These are middling heavyweight. Willis has really got to prove himself. But the 9,300 on DK, even though it is expensive, he's got a high potential to score the first round finish or the first 2-round finish, get takedowns, finish on the ground, finish it on the feet, standing if you would like. So I got to go with Justin Willis, and I'm willing to pay up and save elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Let's move on. We got Thiago Santos taking on David Branch. Thiago Santos, 8,900 on DraftKings. Branch could be had for 7,300. Minus 190. Thiago Santos, plus 165 Branch. Thiago Santos is very, very exciting and somewhat predictable. He's going to run forward. He's going to land hellacious kicks and strikes, and he's not going to make it a good time. But he fucks up. He finds a way to shit in the apple pie.
Well, lately he's been on a roll.
Are you sure? Against Hermanson, Mearshart, and Marshman, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, he's going to put it on, Anthony Smith.
All the same.
But it's just,
mid-carders.
If you can find a way to get this fight to the mat, he's a lost soul down there. Right? He's improving. You saw in the Anthony Smith fight that, like, when he got taken down, immediately he was mounted. But he was able to fight out, get back up, and what a war those two guys put on. David Branch, his one skill is that he is really great at slowing the pace of the fight down. Make it ugly. Maybe try to force you up against the cage. Dirty box. Make it ugly. If he gets on top with a legitimate black belt.
Legit.
This is a spot where Santos is either going to go out there and we're going to be like, yeah, Santos just overwhelming offense, completely crushes him, knocks out David Branch, and and then off Santos goes to the inside the top 10 of the division. I mean, he may already be top 10, but you know what I mean. He's on the path there. He's going to start getting really tough guys in the division. Or Branch slows it down, uses a veteran savvy, finds a way to slow down and stall the pace of the fight. And if he gets to the ground, he's in a very good spot. I may be on DraftKings GPPs. I think Thiago Santos, naturally, as he should be, is going to be really, really highly owned. I think I'm going to be definitely underweight, maybe even a full fade. And hope that he doesn't, that Branch is the right type of style to slow this down, grind it out, and make Santos not a high scorer on this slate. But it's a scary proposition.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I actually don't mind Dave Branch as well. The one fight that kind of makes me worried is that 2 fights ago, I don't care about the last fight with Rockhold. I mean, he gave Rockhold to go. Rockhold's a much better grappler than Thiago Santos, and ultimately you get taken down by Rockhold. He's got nasty ground and pound, and it takes him out. He didn't start that fight all that bad, so I'm not taking anything away from him. It's the fight with Jocko prior to that. He doesn't look good against Jocko whatsoever. And he scores 60 points in a decision victory. So if he just grounds Thiago Santos and is more worried about holding this guy down, instead of going for those submissions and leaving an opening for Santos to get back up, he's not going to score. This could be one of those hold him up against the cage. You said it best yourself. He's good at smothering guys against the cage,
I feel as though if you get somebody
them.
like Thiago Santos down, you think to yourself,
yeah,
I got to do something about this quick. When it's Jocko doesn't knock out too many people unless your name is Tamden McCrory. He doesn't really have the power in his hands. You get Thiago Santos into a compromising position, you got to capitalize, because when he gets back up, he's going to be coming back at you with that much more fire. So I think there would be just laying it out. Okay, let's get to the end of the round. I imagine Dave Branch is smart enough to to know that's not a good idea against someone like this.
Yeah, fair enough. It's just that Branch has fought some 5-round fights in the World Series of Fighting where he's got the guy clearly outmatched, whether it's Clifford Starks, whether it's Lewis Taylor, and these fights are going 4 and 5 rounds because he's not even really attempting to choke them out. He's just basically trying to stifle them and suck the energy out of them. What I like about him, though, is he's fought at 205 pounds and 185 pounds, so he's really not the smallest guy. And with Santos, guys have trouble dealing with his sheer size and power, but you have to assume with a guy like Dave Branch that he kind of dealt with that already. He's getting a little bit older. I don't know that he's his prime version of Branch, but I think you're right. I mean, if styles are going to make fights, Branch has got the style to defeat a guy like Santos by just get those takedowns. When you get those takedowns, if you have to stifle him, stifle him. If you can find the opening for the submission, find the opening for the submission. People look at Santos' highlight reel and it's awesome. I mean, they look at the 4-fight winning streak and it's awesome. But again, those are mid-card guys. But it's quick to forget that. Yeah, dude, he's no good on the ground. He has proven to be no good on the ground. The Mousasi fight will give him a pass. He gets dropped, by the way, and then submitted on the ground, or then destroyed on the ground, more or less. But the Eric Spicely fight, like Spicely shot a slop-ass takedown.
He's like a -700 favorite against
Minus
Spicely.
700. I think he was 750, but all the same.
And Branch is a guy with a lot more striking capabilities than Spicely.
And, of course, that fight was in Thiago Santos' backyard. That was in Brazil. Now we're in Branch's backyard of New York. He's going to have the crowd behind him. He's going to try to stifle him. He's going to try to get takedowns. And yeah, dude, a legitimate Renzo Gracie black belt on the ground. If the fight does hit the ground, he should be able to submit him. If the fight stays standing, and this is also a guy that's worked a lot in his boxing. He's got a KO win over Yushin Okami in the World Series of Fighting. Not an easy task to knock out a guy like Yushin Okami, even though, you know, some guys can. Those are usually elite level guys. What I'm saying is Branch is a well-rounded guy. He seems to have the skill to match up with Santos. Santos is always dangerous, but if I'm looking for underdogs, yeah, this is one that jumps up the map. He's plus 165. He's only $7,300 on DK. If he does get the submission, oh man, for his price point would be excellent. Even if he stifles him and he only ends up with 65, 70 points, well, he's only $7,300, right? Ideally,
it doesn't kill you. You're not going to win the big GPP with that type of scoring, but you're still definitely in good places to cash if the rest of your guys hit.
Yeah, I agree. And so, again, if I'm going to take a guy like Justin Willis and I have to save some money, Dave Branch is most certainly an option.
Aljamain Sterling, 8,100. Brett, the Pikey Johns, 8,100. -115, -105. This line's been flipping back and forth. Basically, it's a pick 'em. Straight down the board, who you got?
I generally always take Aljamain Sterling, and it obviously shits the bed half as much as it cashes. When he is the favorite, he's a gigantic favorite, and when he fights guys that are top 5, top 10 guys, I mean, he just seems to get blown away. I've been very disappointed in losses to Rafael Assunção and Brian Caraway, fights that I think he could have won. He just doesn't really do enough. He's a wrestler by trade, but he's never really scoring that many takedowns. He seems to have a funky striking style. I mean, he's Aljamain the Funk Sterling for a reason. He's very funky standing, but he never really doesn't seem to have any power, Paul. I mean, he can piece you up a little bit. He can land that long jab. He's got a decent kicking game. He'll throw some flashy stuff, but he doesn't really got enough to sting you and hurt you. And that's kind of been the issue now with him, is that he seems to be very well-rounded, but not totally exceptional in any one area. With Brett Johns, this is a guy that I never bet against. But he's also never had to jump up this much in competition. When he's fighting guys, for the most part, it's pretty simple, right? Best guy he's ever fought, either Hanko Kwak or Joe Soto. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, these guys are not exactly...
He's passing all of those tests along the way.
He's passing those tests, but it's not like... I mean, Hill versus Albert Morales, for example. He just takes Morales down and he pounds him. Morales can't get back up. But with Sterling, if he's not able to get that takedown, and there's a high probability that he can't get that takedown...
And Sterling's a good grappler, too.
That's what I mean. He's a good wrestler. He's a guy that has got a good grappling style. He choked out Takeo Mizugaki with the arm triangle choke off his back. Like, he's crafty. It's just, I'm almost... he's untrustworthy to me. I just can't put anything behind him.
Agree.
As far as DK goes, he probably doesn't score a lot in this fight. He traditionally doesn't score a lot in most of his fights unless he's got his takedown game going. And if you look at Brett Johns' judo background and you think, okay, well, the wrestling nullifies out the judo, this stays standing. Brett Johns might just outwork him. And Aljamain Sterling might land the cleaner shots of the two, but not enough of it. Now, he's technically, I'm going to give him the home field advantage because he's from New York and this is New Jersey. It's close enough, but this is not close enough. Like, look at the Caraway fight. It was close. They just didn't give it to him. The Rafael Assunção fight, it was close. They just didn't give it to him, right? this could be the same thing. Brett Johns could just slightly outwork him, or the local judges might just give it to the local guy. So stay away from me personally.
Yeah, I agree.
I love me some Brett Johns, but I can't get near this fight.
This fight has all of the makings of a really low-scoring affair as well, because
grappler versus grappler.
It feels like the grappling kind of gets written off because both guys are going to struggle to take the other guy down. Maybe one of them is able to get the takedowns, but like when it's down there, I think the other guys are going to get back up.
Yeah, fair.
And I don't think somebody's going to be able to consistently just land takedown after takedown. And then on the feet, Johns is very, very green. He doesn't look like he's got it all together yet. He's still developing in that aspect of his game. And Sterling likes to stay at range and throw these kicks and stuff, which when those land, sure they're scoring, but you're not throwing enough of them to actually accumulate points. So it's a stay away fight across the board for me. I'll enjoy watching it.
Yeah, and my last point I got to throw in there is this is Aljamain Sterling coming back from the shadow realm. I mean, dude, he was dabbing in his sleep last fight.
He was
like he literally shot right into this knee. So what's his game plan now? Is he half hesitant? Nobody wants to experience that ever again. And Brett Johns isn't going to do that. Let's be honest, but. You know, do you really want to go out there and shoot multiple takedowns against him? Like, who knows? I just don't know the mentality. Got to be a stay away.
Dan Hooker, 9,200 on DraftKings. Jim Miller, 7,000. Minus 360 on the betting line for Hooker. Plus 300 for Miller. I think we're probably both a little surprised that the line is this wide between the two of them. Hooker's a guy who's, you know, his record doesn't really suggest what is he. He's 16-7, but he's a guy who's been developing, improving over time. And Jim Miller looks like the one thing that really worried me about Jim Miller in his last fight against Trinaldo is round 3. That's when you're supposed to beat Trinaldo, and Trinaldo was the guy who had more gas in the tank, was able to dig deep and secure that round. It was kind of an ugly fight all the way around, but it was really telling. I think. You know, Miller's had some tough goes. This is 3-fight losing streak. Trinaldo, Pettis, and Poirier. And he's had like some moments in that Poirier fight. He had, you know, that
third round, he had his leg done. Right?
Exactly. And like he was even competitive throughout it. But the guy's been through a lot of wars. I realize this is a hometown situation for him. I hate the line here, but I gotta go with Hooker.
Yeah, honestly, if this was, and you know, it's never going to happen, but if we were in a time machine, if we could play with prime versions of guys, if this is a video game where you just scrolled up and you took a prime version of this guy, Jim Miller is a better fighter than Daniel Hooker. A prime Jim Miller would take Hooker down and grind him, because that's just how Jim Miller, he used to be a great wrestler, but now more times often than not, he's getting taken down. The guy's a bona fide black belt. We've seen him submit better guys than Dan Hooker, but he doesn't fight like that. He used to be a grinder's grinder, blue collar as it gets. Comes to the cage to a little CCR with his lunchbox in hand, gets in there and just goes to work. But I don't know that his reflexes are quite the same that they used to be. I don't know that his ability to grind is what it used to be. His last 3 fights, I mean, he's fighting the best guys. Yeah, I don't like Anthony Pettis personally, but dude, Dustin Poirier, and he went the distance. It was a majority decision. Anthony Pettis, he survives. It goes the distance. His last fight with Trinaldo, again, the distance, and he didn't look bad in that second round. The guy will make you pay, but at this point of his career and an advanced career, I do think he's slowing down. And the problem with Hooker is that he's super rangy, he's super young, and he is that future of combat sports, at least in mixed martial arts, I should say. He's long, he's rangy, he seems to have a good gas tank. He's really not that bad on the ground, but I wouldn't want him to be playing the guard game with Jim Miller. But if he just keeps range and just pieces him apart, we've seen this with Jim Miller, and I don't want to necessarily compare it to one of the greatest rivalries ever, him versus Joe Lozon, especially that first fight. Second fight wasn't great, but Lozon's almost the same way. Like, he's got the goods. He's a decent striker. He's good on the ground. He's decent wrestling. Cardio's not as good as Jim Miller's, don't get me wrong, but he's very hittable at this point of his career, and because he's been through so many wars, they break apart quick, you know? Like, Miller's bleeding all over the place. When Miller fought Lozon that second time, like, he's getting taken down almost at will by Joe Lozon. Joe Lozon's taking Miller down. I don't doubt that Hooker could probably take him down too. Hooker definitely going to have that striking advantage. And like I said, I do see dangers in Miller. That money line, it's too big for Hooker. The $9,200, it's going to be very hard to put Miller away considering the 3 guys he just went the distance with.
He's super tough. So
yeah, but
tough to pay off that price tag for sure.
Very, 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 very tough. And I'm probably going to pass this fight. For the most part, I'm going to pass this fight. However, I do see this as one of those like changing of the guards type.
And it's almost like it's a sneaky kind of like Vegas line here. Because everyone's staring at it going like, I like Hooker to win here, but
Just don't
man,
like that
this line
price.
is so wide. But it almost seems like maybe Vegas knows something about this.
Yeah, or you think to yourself, Christ, Jim Miller's not that bad. I'll
Yeah,
bet that.
It
And then-
looks like the sucker bet on
And then
Jim
you watch
Miller,
the
right?
fight, and it looks like Joe Lowe's on Chris Grutzmacher, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, shit. You know,
sure.
sometimes you got to let go of the past because the past is gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love me some Jim Miller, but I don't necessarily love him in 2018 taking on a young up-and-comer who's a rangy striker, trains at an elite level. So I'm
He
going to
just
go
fight
Dan
Diego
Hooker.
Sanchez every fight for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the guy beat Thiago Alves. Again, how shot is Thiago Alves? Like, you know what I mean? He should be fighting fellow shot guys.
Yeah.
I might be able to tempt to take him against fellow shot guys, but when he's taking on, you know, up-and-comers, blue-chip prospects, or top 10, top 15 guys, I'm going to struggle to take him, and that's one of these situations.
Ryan LaFlare, 8,600 on DraftKings. Alex Garcia, 7,600. Minus 150 LaFlare, plus 130 Garcia. Who you got?
I'm just going to go LaFlare. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of issues with Ryan LaFlare. For me, namely, that the guy's just always injured. I mean, he had taken 3 years off in his career earlier on, like between 2010, 2013 or something. He takes 3 years off. But even in his time in the UFC, man, like he was averaging 1 or 2 fights at best. Took 2016 off completely. 2017, he wins his first fight. Not a great fight, but that second fight against Cowboy Oliveira, knocked out for the first time. Knocked out, you know, pretty bad. So I think that Ryan LaFlare is a guy that is talented. He's an athletic guy. There was a time where I thought he might be able to get into that upper echelon, and he should be able to challenge guys, you know, that are at the top of the division. He has a good, decent wrestling background. Was training at the time at the Black Zillions. Now he's full-time in New York. What's wrong with this guy? But the injuries have just delayed him, and now he's 34 years old. I know that they must have taken a toll on him. He doesn't really seem like that same guy that was beating Santiago Ponzinibbio back in the day. Obviously, one guy's gone upwards, and Ryan LaFlare, he's either plateaued or he might be slightly regressing. But this is a winnable fight against Alex Garcia, and I say that because Alex Garcia wants to take you down and grind you. He can stand. He has a lot of power standing. I'm sure he might be able to clip LaFlare, but I think LaFlare is going to do enough to avoid that big shot standing and just don't get taken down. Don't get taken down.
Be
and
faster, more mobile.
You know Garcia's going to gas. It happens every single time, but you got to be able to push him a little bit. Mike Pyle has no chin. He knocks out Mike Pyle. Against Muslim Salikov has no ground game. So you can take Salikov down, and what he does is he takes him down, he submits him. But even in that fight, Paul, it's a 2-rounder, and he looks like he's gassing out at the end of the first and into the second round. Cardio is not good because he's built so powerful. I am worried because LaFlare is coming off a KO loss, but being one of those other guys, he's from New York, he's from this area, he's going to have the crowd support behind him, he's been training with a bunch of guys that are on this card. Avoid that big shot standing, make this big guy work, and you're going to be able to tire him out. LaFlare is a decision machine. If you look at traditionally how he wins fights,
Just outwork him.
Just
kind of ugly. Not too much.
just keep outworking
Not too
him.
much power or anything to keep you off of him. But if he just, I think he can outvolume him. Outvolume Garcia here.
The 8,600 price tag, could he get back his
DraftKings,
value? Would be very tough for him to get his value back.
I like Garcia more as a play on DraftKings, to be honest.
Yeah, that's not crazy. He's got the punching power. He's got the ability to maybe hit LaFlare.
But he also has the
I can't trust
He also
this
has
guy.
the ability to win a fight and score like 40 points.
Man, I've seen.
It's a risk.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
the risk you take, unless he lands a big bomb. But
Yeah. Listen, I know he's won his last 2 fights, but I remember watching him versus Sean Strickland and telling myself.
he lost against Means.
Lost against Means, he lost against Strickland, and in those fights when he's getting outstruck and he's starting to get hurt, and now he's fatiguing and he's getting hurt, his game crumples. Like, you can almost hear the frustration in Faraz's voice yelling at him, like, you got to do something. But he's not a combination puncher. He's a one-shot-at-a-time guy. So if you're Strickland, you got some power, and you might be able to get this guy down, or you're a guy like Means, and you're going to throw volume on him, then you can beat him. Ryan LaFlare is not a power puncher, so he has to throw volume, and I think he just outworks him and gets that decision. Minus 150, I'll take. 8,600, hesitant. Might have some shares, but they'll be low-owned shares.
Moving on down the card, we got Magomed Bibulatov taking on Oka Sasaki. Bibulatov, most expensive guy on DraftKings, 9,400 and a minus 370 betting favorite. Sasaki, 6,800 plus 310. Bibulatov has, all of the shine or the signs of a up and coming, tough Russian wrestler. And that whole hype train kind of blew up when John Moraga knocked him out senseless in his last fight. I'm willing to wager that was not something that is going to be consistent for every single fight of Bibulatov. Hey, he could have a terrible chin, and we just don't know that yet. But I think this is the right matchup for him against Sasaki. Doesn't really have much power in his hands. Is super long and probably
Very
could frustrate him from distance. Doesn't have the best takedown defense. Does have some crafty work off of his back and is, never really giving up position. But fighting that type of style against Bibulatov you're going to be in for a long night. And as long as Bibulatov can take him down, secure position, land some ground and pound, I think he's able to do that over the course of 3 rounds. He's going to have to probably avoid a couple crafty little sneaky submission attempts, but that's the fight that Bibulatov wants to fight, and I think he's going to be able to prevail. It's a good stylistic matchup after getting knocked out senseless in his last fight against John Marega. So I got Bibulatov. I'll probably have some of them on DraftKings. Minus 370 after the knockout and stuff. Like, I think you can parlay them, but I'm a little bit hesitant still with that. I like Bibulatov pretty cleanly here, but I don't know. What's your take?
Yeah, listen, I believe he's the biggest favorite on the card, and I don't disagree with that at all. I like Bibulatov. You look at the last fight with Moraga, and that's going to sour. Like, oh, dude, you were super high on him there, and he wasn't even competitive. He got knocked out in a minute and a half. Sometimes you just got to, take that out of your head a little bit. What I say by that is, remember Ali Bogatinov? Oh, dude, the guy was a wrecking machine, was smashing people, the puncher king, went 5 hard rounds at DJ, actually gave Demetrius Johnson a go. Turns out he was EPO'd to the tits. Goes back to Russia, fights Tyson Nam. Oh, baby. And Tyson Nam knocks him out. How did this happen? He just got caught. If these guys fight again tomorrow, he's still going to come in as a 3-1 favorite, and he's likely going to smash him. He gets caught. I think when you're talking about other guys, and are these guys chinny? A Frankie Edgar, did he lose his chin all of a sudden? Certain guys, oh man, he just got knocked out. Aljamain Sterling against Marlon Moraes. What's his mentality like that? I agree that we do talk about that from time to time, but a guy like Bibulatov, he gets caught. He's still young enough. I think he's going to be back fine. I like him in this spot, and the UFC is doing him absolutely a favor by not even giving him a power puncher. So what's he going to get caught with by Sasaki? Sasaki's long. Sasaki can, like you say, frustrate you, fluster you a little bit, but he's going to be at a striking disadvantage. He's going to be at a strength disadvantage. He's going to get dumped. He's got a decent ground game, but he's not crafty enough to catch him. This isn't Justin Scoggins run head first into a submission. No. This is Bibulatov should just take over.
Who may give you that submission so he can get the takedown, and he'll get out of that submission.
Yeah, then you look at the price tag and you're like, oh, geez, Sasaki's durable enough, but is he, man? Your boy Taylor Lapalus destroyed this guy back in the day. 2nd round KO, just touches him up, flusters him, smaller guy, shorter guy, cuts off the ring pretty good, closes that pocket, lands those shots, and Sasaki just folds away. I don't doubt that Bibulatov could get that and get his value for me. But what's better than that is Bibulatov's debut in the UFC against Janelle Losa. I think he scored 94 points, and it's a decision victory. He got almost 100 points because, again, these small guys are just non-stop action. The takedowns, the striking, the guard passes, the submission attempts.
He probably could have finished in a couple spots there. He was kind of almost too patient. I remember kind of sweating that one.
Now, Sasaki's certainly better than he is on the ground, and, he's fought in probably a lot better guys than that, so I'm going to give him an advantage there. But again, Leandro Issa takes you down.
He may be able to get back up, which is good for DraftKings.
If he gets back up, then he'll get taken right back down, so I don't mind it. Again, 9,400 doesn't sound super appealing, but if you're going to take those other guys on the card that we talked about, I don't love a Cub Swanson, if you take a Cub Swanson, or you take a David Branch for 7,300, then you can afford Bibulatov, and on a card where there's a lot of uncertainty, where there's a lot of, I don't like the value on this one. It's a thick price tag, but he's the biggest favorite for a reason. This is almost a tailor-made matchup for him. I don't think I should look silly at the end of a Saturday night with Bibulatov losing a 2nd in a row. Hopefully he gets back on track and sign me up.
Seer Bahadurzada taking on Luan Chagas. Bahadurzada is 8,200 on DraftKings, minus 105. Chagas 8,000 minus 115. Another fight that's kind of been switching back and forth. Barboza opened up as the favorite. I think he was up as high as minus 140 earlier in the week, and it's moved towards Chagas being the favorite. I agree with the line movement. I think we have a younger, more dynamic striker in Chagas who's proven to be pretty well-rounded. And, he came in against Eric Silva, and he didn't have a bad showing, but he did get submitted in round 3.
Yeah, and they were dropping each other left, right,
he came in super late notice, right? And then in his last fight, he hurt your boy up.
Jim Wallhead, I know. And he didn't look bad against Sergio Moraes either. Like
Yeah.
the fight ended up being a draw. Luan Chagas is a young guy. He seems to have some decent striking. I think he'll just be able to outwork Bahadurzada. Bahadurzada, he's gonna fit in the category. I know we've talked about this already in the show, but he fits in the category as untrustworthy. Like similar to LaFlare, he never fights. And when he does, it's like that last fight against Wilkinson was not looking overly impressive.
Wilkinson,
but then he
man.
catches him. The fight where this is Brendan Thatch. It's Brendan Thatch. But
Yeah, you
before
take
that,
Brendan
Paul,
Thatch down because everybody does that, and once he's
Everybody
on the
does.
ground, he's got nothing for you.
Yeah.
And like he followed that game plan. I just think against a more well-rounded player or fighter like Chagas, he's not gonna be able to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that the Wilkinson fight, you've got that big power. Wilkinson's very green. He catches him. And the fight, again, I didn't think he was looking overly impressive with. The Thatch fight, path of victory is there. Take him down, submit him, takes him down, submits him. Beats Thatch up pretty good in that fight. But the fight before that, and this is going years back, because the fucker's only fought 3 times in a long time, is John Howard pretty much cleanly outpoints him. That is a huge red flag because since then he's gotten older. His style never really changes. He wings heavy shots. They used to call him, I don't think they call him it anymore because, maybe political reasons, but they used to call him the Afghan killer. This guy touches you and you go down. He used to fight a lot in the Netherlands. He's originally from the Netherlands. Spent a lot of time down with Henry Hoof at the Black Zillions camp. Has trained a lot at Greg Jackson's camp as well, probably formulating a bit of a game plan. You just don't really see the game plan outside of the Thatch fight, maybe. You don't really see the game plan with this guy. He goes in to wing them.
He wings overhands and
and
post
Chagas
long
is
lands.
hittable. Chagas is hittable, but he seems to have a little more in the gas tank. He's probably gonna have a lot less ring rust on him. And Bahadurzada's got 30 pro fights. Been around the game for a long time. He's starting to become an older guy. Chagas should be able to just do enough to outpoint this guy or just frustrate him. I mean, when you wing shots like that, Paul, you get tired. It's like a baseball pitcher. You might throw 50 to 60 fastballs as fast as you can, but then your arms cook, dude. You got to go to the dugout, sit there with ice, and you're probably going to need a cortisone shot the next week. Like, it ruins your arm. This guy whips fastball-like punches, and as a result, he gets real tired. He keeps his hands very low. His kicking game's pretty solid, but he puts everything into it, so it takes energy. And I think that even the Chagas doesn't have the world's greatest gas tank. He's been steadily making improvements, fighting good guys. Wallhead, to me, is a good guy. Most people won't agree with that, so let's just throw him out of there. But Sergio Moraes and, at the time, Eric Silva, at least they're considered upper echelon guys. They're top 25, top 30 guys. Where Bahadurzada has not been fighting particularly good guys and has been looking just okay. So give me Chagas. When I look at the price tag on it, $8,000 for DraftKings. It's going to be hard to put away Bahadurzada because the guy is super tough. But $8,000 is not a whole lot. If you're looking for someone that you want to save some money on a cash game team, I can see going that direction. And as far as the minus 115 go, it's a near even. So you're going to be able to find some value there as well. Not the sexiest pick in the world because you're fighting a tough guy. And this is Luan Chagas at the end of the day. But no, I think he gets the victory here, Paul.
Corey Overtime Anderson, no longer Beastin 25-8. 8,300 on DraftKings. Taking on Pat Cummins, who's 7,900. Minus 130. Anderson plus 110. Cummins in the battle of two of the chinniest dudes, probably at 205 pounds. Interesting one. I see people kind of debating both sides all week. I think it's pretty easy. I trust Pat Cummins' chin a lot more than I trust Corey Anderson. I know Anderson getting knocked out by OSP, getting knocked out by Manawa in his last 2 fights. Those are guys with a lot more power in their punches and much more technical, fight-ending ability in their strikes.
John Vellante seriously screwed this guy up. Tom Lawler was all over him. Pat Cummins
in his last fight against Vellante, those two guys went to war. Yeah. He went the distance.
Jan Blachowicz prior to that too. Like, he's actually coming off 2 considered good
I'm surprised.
wins.
I'm surprised that it's, and the thing is, all of Anderson's great performances that we've seen, all of the ones that he's scored like over 100 points on DraftKings because he had a grappling advantage. Now he's taking on a wrestler who
doesn't have a wrestling advantage here.
Who is shorter and was on the Olympic training team, right? Like, he helped out
the
Daniel.
Two-time U.S. national team member. Yeah. Former NCAA Division I All-American, and he made it to the finals of the tournament in like 2004. Flip side to that, Corey Anderson is a former D3 All-American and a former junior college All-American. I gotta say, Pat Cummins has the wrestling advantage. You're right, man.
Anderson may have the striking advantage, may have the speed advantage, but I think this turns into an ugly fight. And if these guys get in close quarters, I'm going to lean towards the guy with the better wrestling pedigree. The guy who has proven, sure, he's proven to be chin. He got knocked out by Little Nog a couple fights back, but that was a fight where he's just like, I'm in Brazil. I'm going to wage war against this legend because it's, because it's one of those moments like, I'm not going to try to just grind this guy, which he should have. And that's bad ring IQ. Don't get me wrong.
But Little Nog can also crack.
He can crack as well.
He's got some power.
But all of this being said, like, plus 110 Cummins, 7,900 on DraftKings. I'm going to take the less chinny guy with the better wrestling in the battle of two wrestlers. Seems easy enough to me.
Yeah. And you know what? I was thinking the exact same thing. I was on that same pattern. I was like, geez, you know what? Anderson really needs the takedown because if not, he's got to stand. And the longer he stands, the more chances he has to get hit. And it's not even like, oh, dude, flush kick in the face like the Jimmy Manuwa fight. It's like, man, the John Vellante fight was just on the side of the head and it froze him up. Like, he gets hit and he goes down. Cummins gets hit and he goes down too, but I mean, yeah, Little Nog packs a wallop of a punch. Glover Teixeira, no SP, both also pack a wallop of a punch, and obviously Daniel Cormier, the current UFC light heavyweight champion, who beat him up on short notice. He's got the wrestling advantage, but man, the more I just watch some tape on it, I gotta go Anderson. And I say that because Pat Cummins, supremely athletic, great wrestling. But the later the fight goes, he wears a lot of damage, he bleeds a lot, he swells up a lot, and that's kind of what cooks him and makes him tired. All that quick, fast twitch muscle that he has, that ability to dart in and out, that ability to just shoot blast doubles that are beautiful from across the cage and seemingly get them, that all takes a lot of energy. And because I'm kind of throwing out the wrestling, he's a better wrestler on paper than Corey Anderson, but these are both two full-grown men. Pat Cummins was a runner-up at the NCAA tournament in 2004, you know what I mean? This is 14 years ago. Like, time has certainly changed, and I don't think he's going to be able to go out there and take Anderson down and hold him down. Anderson likely is not going to take down Cummins as well, so we got a striking battle. If Cummins can hit him and knock him out standing early, by all means, it is a possibility, and Cummins would be a great play. But I see this one as being one of those Cummins starts out quick, and Anderson's a guy, used to be beasting 25-8, now he's overtime Anderson, because he does just keep going with volume, and that'll just bust up Cummins, get him tired, get him to round 2, get him to round 3, probably get an ugly victory on the scorecard. Again, we've got another New York-based fighter here in Corey Anderson that'll probably do enough to edge out what could be a close decision. And because they're both chinny, he's got the option to maybe hit him and knock him out, as well as he could himself get hit and knocked out. But I'm actually going to go with Corey Anderson here. 8,300, I don't love it because he's not going to be able to mix in those takedowns. But hell, if you get this guy tired, he might be able to get the takedown, and then Cummins will just get right back up. But then try to get the takedown again. Like, I don't know. They could play different ways. And the minus 130 on the straight money line, I'm gonna take a poke, actually. It's Corey Anderson, Paul. We've seen this guy on his back staring up at the lights a lot of times. As far as I can throw him. Yeah, but do you trust Pat Cummins?
More than Corey Anderson.
I love Cummins. He's got the greatest mustache in the game. He's a
Corey
character.
Anderson could be up 2 rounds, looking all great, and boom, round 3. Oh,
and we've seen that happen with Corey Anderson before.
That guy's chin is like beyond gone at this point. But
again, he's fighting power punchers too. Like, Vellante is a pretty heavy set dude. He does hit fairly hard, but the other guys, the OSPs of the world, the Jimmy Manuwas of the world, like, if they hit you, they're going to knock you out. Both these guys seem chinny because they fight guys that hit hard. Let me see Corey Anderson lose to a Matt Van Buren and get knocked out, and then I'm going to really question his chin. But Pat Cummins is not a striker. He hits hard because he is a big dude and he is athletic, but he's not one of those guys that goes out there and just cleanly
you don't have to sell me on
boxes
this. I'm not picking your guy. You're not picking my guy. We can move on.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
We'll find out on Saturday.
This is true. You want a side bet?
No. We can talk off air about it.
Okay.
Let's move on. This is probably any long-term listeners' favorite part of the program here. We've got Aspen Ladd back in action, your baby. So I 8,500, 7,700, minus 145, plus 125. Ladd versus Smith. Tell us why Ladd is going to the promised land here.
Oh yeah, wow!
Like,
I've never bet against
you're never picking against her.
I know. And
so
you know
everyone,
what?
this is the moment where you basically serenade her for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. Most people I talk to are like, not even that hot. But for me, I'm like, man, hot. She's cute. She's fit. She's looking good. She used to fight at 125, and she was like, eh. She moves up to like 135, borderline 145. Damn, my baby. She's looking good and thick. As far as her fighting goes, lost an amateur fight to Cynthia Calvillo. Outside of that, damn near perfect, man. I mean, she's strong, she's aggressive, she marches opponents down. You watch her in Invicta FC, she actually takes on that Sinhara Eubanks, who's, you know, should have made it to the finals.
Eubanks, yep.
Yeah, should have made it to the Sarge, yeah, out of Team Lloyd Irvin. She should have made it to the finals. That girl had trouble making weight because she's a big, strong girl. Aspen Ladd breaks her down. Her other wins in the UFC are all UFC veterans for the most part. I mean, she destroyed Bobby Joe, what's her name?
Amanda Bobby Cooper?
Sorry, Amanda Bobby Cooper, ABC, yeah. She beat her up handedly. Most of the girls that she was fighting in Invicta are already UFC quality fighters, and she was looking extremely good. She had trouble making the weight, but now that she's up at a weight class, she's been looking pretty solid as far as I'm concerned. Comes to the UFC, that last fight with Lena Landsberg, I think it shows how dominant that she can be. She can take you down, she mounts her, and she just keeps punching. It's not like it's really heavy strikes, but she just keeps going and going and going and going. And yeah, I mean, I'm sold on her personally. Again, if she has a good weight cut, because she traditionally does struggle to go out there and cut the 15, 20 pounds that is required out of her, she has a good weight cut, then she's on. Leslie Smith worries me only because she's so durable.
She goes to war. Like, the Peacemaker goes to war every single
100%.
fight.
She is got that Cesar Gracie mold where she is a Diaz sister. She stands in the pocket, she wings, not power strikes, but volume, just stands in the pocket, goes cast iron chin. I mean, the 2 times she's been knocked out, the Cyborg, not a big deal. Don't worry about that girl.
She was a lamb getting led to the slaughter in that fight.
She actually gets, and she's complaining about the stoppage. She's like, man, why'd you stop it? It's like, what do you mean why did I stop it? And then Jessica I literally tore her ear
was
off.
Basically falling off.
And she was like, why'd you stop it? Like, she is tough, man. So part of me worries that Aspen Ladd goes out there, tees off on her for 2 rounds, or even, you know, Leslie Smith's not a fish out of water. Like, she's also a good striker. Yeah. She'll stand with you. She'll land some shots.
And she could out-volume her.
Potentially, but she also takes you into some deeper waters and starts to get you tired. Aspen Ladd, if she doesn't have a great weight cut, if she has been throwing a lot of strikes, and you get into a war with Leslie Smith, that's a place you don't want to be in because she can't put it on you. But I got to go with Ladd. A, obviously, my baby. B, undefeated. I like her. Not starting to go against her just yet. But C, she's also a striker. And man, Leslie Smith's extremely hittable. Like, very, very hittable. So Ladd's just got to go out there and does what she does, and she'll win the first 2 rounds. If Leslie Smith drags her to deep waters, women's bantamweight fight, not likely going to be a finish in the 3rd round. Leslie Smith's not going to rally up some late round comeback. Don't see the submission being a factor here. So I got to take Ladd. Looking at the price tag, $8,500 for Ladd does seem a little bit, but with Leslie Smith,
if it's a high volume striking affair, it could be a lot.
It could be a war. Yeah. War's going to be
good. It could be a sneaky kind of play. I don't think people are going to be playing too much of this fight.
Yeah.
I don't think people are going to be playing too much Ladd, if anybody. From this fight. Like, I think some people may end up on Smith just because it's an underdog and it's tough finding people under 8K, but 8,500 Ladd is not gonna be very highly owned. If it ends up being a real slobber knocker, it could be a little sneaky play to mix into a few lineups for sure.
Yeah, I also think that Ladd is going to be bigger and physically a lot stronger than Leslie Smith, and I don't doubt that she gets takedowns. Leslie Smith's good enough off her back to survive, but maybe she gets back up, maybe she gets taken back down. That's all I can hope for Ladd if I want to play her on DK, is that she just completely outstrikes her standing, lands multiple heavy shots. A knockdown would be great too. Like, Leslie Smith's very durable, but she's not above going down, just getting back up. Those are all options. Got to mix in the takedowns, and then maybe she could get the $8,500 worth of value, but I'm more likely just to play that money line at -145.
Ricky Simon takes on Merab Dvalishvili, 8,700 Simon. Dvalishvili, 7,500, -160, and +140. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Georgian currently living in New York. I know we've been talking this whole card about those local guys, and I think a lot of them got the chance here. With Dvalishvili, he seems very strong, comes from a Sambo background, but there's something about him that I'm just not really I think he's older than 27. I know I've mentioned this before. Guys seem a little older than they may claim, and I do think he's probably a little older than 27. He's a strong, powerful guy.
He's like 47.
Not quite that old, but I don't think that he's less than 30 years old. But that last fight against Frankie Saenz, he looked like an old man. Like, Frankie Saenz is an old man. Frankie Saenz outworked him. Frankie Saenz did what he had to do. With Ricky Simon, though, is that I've watched him fight just 3 times on Titan FC, and I'm not overly impressed. Like, he came in as a big favorite, taking on a relatively short-nosed opponent from Brazil, and ends up getting submitted in the 2nd round. Since then, hasn't looked overly impressive. He comes from a state wrestling background. Didn't wrestle collegiately, but he was a former state champion in wrestling. So he's got a decent wrestling game. He is a young guy. He claims he's a bit of a kickboxer as well. He's won apparently amateur titles at 135 pounds, 145 pounds, and 155 pounds. So he seems like he's going to be one of those blue chip prospect guys that is decent standing, decent on the ground, but a guy that's a little bit better than him in any one area could hurt him here. And with Dvalishvili, I think that he's going to be training with a much better camp for this fight. He's going to be a little more powerful standing, not quite as dynamic standing, so he might get outstruck standing. Who knows? But he's going to have that strong man back you up, make this a dirty fight, hopefully, and get that victory. I'm saying clean pass on this, but if you want to pick on it, I'm going to slide with Dvalishvili ever so slightly.
I remember when Dvalishvili fought Frankie Sands, people were really, really fired up during the fight on Twitter, and they were going on like, oh, this guy's like Khabib. It's just like,
no.
He didn't
no.
have any technique. What
He's
he does
strong,
have is he
super
is strong as an ox.
Very strong.
The guy is real, and like all of his takedowns and all of the positions that he was controlling, it was all a muscle thing and a strength thing, and he was able to do that against Frankie Sands. On the feet, how he got into the UFC is knocking out Ralphian Stotts on Dana White, looking for a fight.
Yeah, but that happens so fast.
Exactly.
I don't know what I can take out of that.
What I'm saying is that basically, yeah, he has power. He can land a dynamic shot, but you can't rely on that. You can't trust on something like that to actually happen in a fight. It's a full-out pass for me. I think Simon, it's going to be tough for him to pay off that price tag because Dvalishvili, if nothing else, is strong and tough. And I just wasn't impressed with Dvalishvili and like it was a close fight. A lot of people thought it was a quote-unquote robbery. I didn't even really think it was a robbery. It's just like all he was able to do is just use his strength to get takedowns. We did nothing with them. And you leave it in the hands of the judges in those type of situations. You get two people ringside that see it the other way. Yeah. So it is what it is. Finally, we got Tony Martin taking on Keita Nakamura. Tony Martin, 8,800 on DraftKings. Nakamura, 7,400. Minus 255 for Tony Martin, plus 215 for Nakamura. Line's a little wide here. For my liking as well.
It's a bit of a setup for Tony Martin, I think. I mean, I don't know if their plan is market this guy, but he's young, he's good looking, he seems pretty skillful, he loves to talk a good game of shit. I could see people wanting to get behind Tony Martin. His last fight against Olivier Aubé-Mercier, I thought he won the fight, man, personally. Looked like Olivier also thought that Tony Martin may have won the fight. Looked very bummed out and very surprised when he got the decision. But just, he's fighting a better level of competition than this fight against Keita Nakamura. Like, Keita Nakamura is not that he doesn't fight good guys. It's just that he is as journeyman gatekeeper as the term journeyman gatekeeper gets. 50 pro fights, been around for a long time, very crafty, hard to put away, fights at multiple weight classes, 55, 170, good striker, decent body kick. You know, he's there for a reason, but he's also there as kind of half enhancement talent. If you can't beat Keita Nakamura, you're not good enough to get up to those bigger fights. You're not able to move up that ladder. But Tony Martin has every indication that he is better on the ground. Well, they're maybe comparable on the ground, but I'm going to give him the advantage because he's the younger guy, he's the craftier guy, but he's got that length, Paul. He's super long. He also has a pain-in-the-ass time usually making weight, which is why he's had to go up to 170 pounds at times to try to just not botch his body. I think that he's going to have a lot of tools here that he's going to be able to use to beat Keita Nakamura. Like I said, probably going to be a grappling type style. But if it's not, the guy doesn't mind marching you down, and his boxing's getting way better because he's so long, he's going to be able to use that jab. He's got a decent right hand, good straight right. Keita Nakamura is a shorter guy. Generally, you know, is crafty. He's hard to hit. He's hard to put away. But I feel like Tony Martin's got the advantage in every area. The 8,800, I'm not touching that because of how hard it is to put away Keita Nakamura and how Tony Martin, like, if he doesn't finish you very quick,
Nakamura makes every fight kind of ugly too. Like, it's gonna be.
He's crafty. He's a crafty journeyman.
It's gonna be a dogfight every single time, and he's never out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you could
like when he was losing against Li Jingliang, and then boom, finds the back.
But there's a glaring hole in Li Jingliang's game, and that tends to be his grappling. Yeah. Whereas I feel with Tony Martin, there's not a whole lot of holes in his game.
Unless he jabs his fingers into your eyeballs.
Yeah,
that's how he gets out of most chokes.
That is a hell of a guillotine choke defense, let me tell you. I got to go with Martin. Again, on a card that we've talked about this, does it sound like I'm sure on any of these fights? For the most part, I think there's a lot of close fights in here. The 255, not pretty.
That line's off, in my opinion.
It is off, but what line here do you like You're going to have to parlay a couple of these guys together. You're going to have to, like, I don't like the Dan Hooker line, but Bibulatov at 370, I got to get something better out of that. I'm going to have to parlay him with a Tony Martin.
It's a fight,
the Frankie Edgar
card that it's really
235,
tough
not
to
great.
find an edge.
What do you think is the value play?
Value play?
Well, the value play is you don't have to take a dog. But
I actually like Pat Cummins, but
well, dude,
but
that's a tough fight, man. That's a tough fight.
I know, but
Pat Cummins, like shit.
I think he should be the favorite in that spot, to be honest. But we disagree on that one.
Well, okay. Let me tell you this. Remember way back in the day, only old school bookie beatdown fans would remember this. Maybe if you've just started listening to Dogger Pass, you might not. But remember, we used to do like a lock of the night. It was like the play of the entire card.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the play of this card?
I would be surprised if Bibulatov loses.
Yeah, fair. It's just so big, you know. It's just such a big favorite.
Yeah, of course.
I like him too. I think he's the guy you can trust here. But he just got knocked out, and like the other guys in the card are just way less trustworthy. It's not like there's only, holy shit, this guy's only a minus 175. I like him. It's like, man, you can honestly make a point for all these guys. And the guys that you do really like, the guys that it's like, okay, maybe I'll go with Frankie Edgar, and maybe I'll go with Justin Willis, and maybe I can go with a Tony Martin. We just talked about how those guys they're overpriced. They're all overpriced. All these guys are overpriced. They're trap lines. Dan Hooker, I like Dan Hooker. Not for that price tag, I don't. So, tough card. Someone told me today, they're like, I might pass on this card. I was like, man, pass on this card. You know, financially, that's not even the worst decision. I'm just not going to pass on this card. So I'm giving you the picks. I'm giving you the picks that I'm going to proceed with. And like I said, it's Atlantic City. Who goes to Atlantic City and doesn't throw the dice? Come on, Paul. Come on.
Last little thing. Have you seen Colby Covington and like the videos that he's been releasing this week?
No.
I wish we could play them for them. I wonder if we could play them. They're just Instagram videos.
Could be. Yeah, listen.
Maybe those videos are playing right now. Maybe they're
not.
I'm basically he hired like 2 hookers to come over to his place, and he's been like posting these like Instagram videos.
Just pictures of him with the chicks, right?
They're pictures, but there's actual videos, and he does like a wrestling style promo, and he's like telling you to like tune into his fight. A lot of people hate it. I think it's great.
I like Colby Covington. I've always liked Colby
conceited, over the top.
Yeah.
He's a total wrestling heel. Like that's what he's created himself as.
But you gotta have heels.
You know what? People hate him, but like he's not throwing any dollies through any windows or anything. Like you may hate him, but that's the desired effect that he's going for here. So keep doing you, Colby.
Yeah.
But it's like when you actually look up the name, like he like posted the names of them, and they're both like Florida cam girls. So like he probably spent like $1,000, have them hang out for the day at his apartment. He's just like he'll do a promo and then be like, "Let's jump in the hot tub, ladies," and then he gets in the hot tub. It's great.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that they're there for the fact that you have a social media following both on Twitter and Instagram, and people like Paul Shaughnessy will then check out who these girls are and
true, I had no idea who they were before.
$2.99 a minute. I just made some money on this Atlantic City
Everybody
card.
wins.
Maybe I'll check these girls out. It's Florida. I'm going to go out and make up a fake fact, probably not real. Florida probably produces more porn stars than any other state. Actually, Arizona.
Apparently,
but Florida's along the same.
Arizona State University creates more, but I think most of the porn work actually gets done in Florida these days because it used to get done in Silicon Valley.
Gets done.
But what happened is that now you can't do porn unless you use a condom in Silicon Valley. So they do most of it in Florida because there ain't no laws for anything.
No,
which is really sad.
I just got back from Florida. That shit's lawless, man.
Yeah. There's a real depressing like Netflix documentary on all of this. That's why I know this. It's not a good time.
Paul Shaughnessy, your resident porno expert.
Resident Dogger Pass porno expert.
Okay, well, good time.
It should be a fun card, top to bottom. UFC Atlantic City, interesting fights, some tough fights, and someone's gonna shit in the apple pie, but. It is what it is. Want to thank Cody Saftic breaking down the fights with me as always. Want to thank Pat Mayo for switching and directing and producing all of the content that we have right here. For both of those guys, I am Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.
Mayo experience! Experience!